First up, a couple questions on engineering. The initial build mentioned that armor didn't make it in time. For the first engineering T1 iteration, whenever it goes live, is the plan to implement armor by then or at a later stage? So he's asking if we're getting armor. I mean, this is now, yeah? For the first engineering T1 thing? We'll answer that one first. And before he does answer, he wants to say, thank you for all of the videos, feedback, and discussions around the engineering gameplay. It already helps us tremendously to improve the feature. Not as fast as I and probably you like, but it is important for us that we get a good base to build on. He said, I cannot promise anything here, sadly. We are currently focusing on getting the flow right for engineering. That means damage, fire, and repair is our main focus to get a nice mix of good gameplay and fulfilling the Star Citizen fantasy. So until we are happy enough, in quotes, we won't add anything new to the mix. Reason is we really need to focus on as few things as possible to not water down the feedback. That's fair. Yeah, that is fair. Get the armor in afterward. Make sure engineering actually works, but also engineering depends on armor, so they'll have to rebalance it anyways. The next question was again about the relays, and he said, I saw already some posts and IC reports around relays, so let me clarify. What you see here is what we want to go forward with. He says, relays are still the connectors of all ship components. If you lose all of the fuses inside items, will not lose the connection anymore. So basically, they're not a fail point. They're just a throughput. The main reason here is that some ships are just built in a way that the relay that connects all items or is critical are just too easy of a target, hence we did decide to rework the system. Can you find a more clear example of the Star Citizen problem than that? That is, this entirely encapsulates the biggest problem that Star Citizen deals with, and it is that they built the spaceships that fund the game and sold them in order to fund the features that would make the spaceships work. If they knew how engineering was going to work from a design standpoint when they first started making spaceships, this probably wouldn't have been as big a problem. And even when they did start working on engineering back in, I think, 2020, they were still of the mindset that there would be relays in all the ships, right? That we would work through this system. I can take you back to that. It's really not hard to find that video. I can find you the spot almost exactly where it would happen. Oh, instead I found the Reddit thread where it was posted. Why did I not just get the YouTube link first? So you come all the way here and your boy is showing us how relays work.
From the battery to the lights, everything travels through these relays. Now, each relay you have on your ship is going to consume power. So the less you have, the more efficient you're going to be. The more you have is going to be, you're going to be more redundant. For example, in this case, let's say someone sabotages this and they destroy this part. You can see already this part of the ship lost resources. If we lose this one, this power plant is off. Let's say now I need to start shooting. So I'm manning my turrets and they're shooting. I'm starting my... Hammerhead doesn't have these weapons exactly here. We're just trying to simulate a ship at this point. You will start noticing my last...
And like, there's probably so few relays in the actual live Hammerhead version of engineering than what we see here. They've reduced the amount of relays that would be in a ship a ton. And I'm not saying what they've done here is wrong. Iteration is how things work. You have to come up with a design and then put that design into practice and then see if it works. And if it doesn't, you got to make changes. And they have. We should give them credit for that. Like, there's no reason to shame people for changing a system. I'm just more kind of pointing out the inherent problem in making a video game like this. And there are plenty of pros. This is just one of the plenty of cons, but it's a reality I think everybody should understand and decide whether or not it's too much for them or not. Because engineering is not the only place where this kind of stuff happens. There are always reworks to systems that they've already told us will work a certain way. And we can do our best to continue to communicate what they've said about stuff, but everybody should always have a grain of sand. Sand? Salt. A grain of salt inside their mind, in their brain. Get salty brain. Get that sodium fix, because they are building on a foundation that was set on ideas, and those ideas don't all work. That is a tough reality that I have come to over the last couple of years, and I think this is probably going to be the source of a lot of people just like, nah, 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 like, you guys thought it was going to be great, now they're making concessions, which it sucks. And they do have to. I think everybody assumes that there will be compromises, but how big they will be is anybody's prediction. Sometimes they suck, sometimes they don't, but I just think it's good to recognize this stuff happens. Now he continues on by saying, What happens now is that each relay has still has fuses inside, but once all fuses are destroyed or depleted, the relay will go into a red state. The red state of the relay means that it will block some power. This means if you have lost a relay by it not having any fuses anymore, the available power in the ship will drop. It won't be gone, but it will drop. Depending on the ship size and the amount of relays present, that can have significant impact on your ship, so they are still an important factor to be taken care of. It's definitely going to be something to experiment with. They don't have this many fuses and relays on a ship, but maybe if they had just one row of these and you took out half of them, that would significantly decrease the power on your ship. And these are quantifiable, these are realistic effects too. I mean, I'm not saying that this change is bad. I think this can still easily be a good way to reward good aim and strategy and good engineering and all that kind of stuff. But this will be something to experiment with and see how much these effects stack. Because we're talking about power here. We're talking about the difference between your turret having 250 shots and 180 shots. And that can decide the whole battle. And on a hammerhead, that's 1 turret out of 6. So engineering in combat still can have a huge impact even with these changes. But again, testing necessary. Now what's the third question? Is the plan to update the engineering ready ships from patch to patch like the Nyx planets, or will they all be updated at once? And he answers patch by patch. So it's just like they were going to release at the beginning of the year. Back then, I think they wanted to have around 11 to 15 ships ready for engineering. Now it looks like they're aiming for, I don't know, 50 maybe? 70, I think they said. Maybe can't make any big predictions off of that, but it does give us an idea of how much progress they made in 11 months. For 2 years of delays of engineering, I did not see any changes from what we saw and played in 2023. I mean, I did. We didn't have any fire in 2023. I didn't really get the feeling that the power pips were actually defining whether the ship could function that well or not. It seemed like they were just kind of like when I used the engineering in the C1 Spirit, I was moving the power around and I could tell that the systems in the ship were responding. But in 2020, like in the Arena Commander thing, I don't know, it felt more broken, I guess. So maybe it didn't change too much functionality wise, but it feels like it works a lot better now, at least what we do have. But yeah, probably the fire is the biggest thing. The fire, the atmosphere, the room system, venting the atmo, yeah, and the life support stuff. So good questions, but the conversation continues. Mentioned that this is a great reply. We could get more guidance like this. This is what everybody always says whenever somebody says something good on Spectrum. Like, if we could get more of this, it'd be great. Yeah, it's called Sprint Reports. Could we get confirmation that the time to kill for components in the current test is drastically different to the intended live balance? That might help alleviate community angst. Community angst, it's people making their own freaking angst, dude. This is what drives me nuts about engineering. They have said so many times, again, there's a video for it. There's a video for everything. Star Citizen, engineering, design brief. It's not the design brief, is it? It's the more recent one, this one. Listen closely to what he says here.
Misfires are something that is already in the game in some form. Thruster charges, steel generator failure, stuff like that. We're just expanding it a bit. And pretty much the idea is that, items that are damaged, that are too hot, or that, for example, are very old and degraded, will start misfiring.
Damaged, too hot, very old and degraded. I think it's laid out pretty clearly that they're like, hey, take care of your ship parts and you'll be fine. They don't want people just dying all the time in their ships just running out. I get that there's angst. I just feel like CIG has done a lot to try and not freak people out about this, and people are still getting freaked out about it before getting to actually try it out. Your favorite part of engineering after having checked the tech preview was the ability to open and close specific doors. That is really nice. The progression. Yeah. Let's see. Just continuing on from this, I'm sorry. So the community angst. So far, engineering looks very promising. By the way, this really feels like a momentous change in Star Citizen's development. Yeah. Agreed there. And not to target this guy about my whole rant, I just like the community angst it's kind of like it's like the community angst around item recovery, tier 0. How many people have continued to live with the idea that item recovery tier 0 is permanent? And you're like, dude, hold your horses, my friend. All right, his answer is, let me actually be very honest here. This will not be fixed with the armor system getting in. Right now, there is a balancing discrepancy I still have to fix that should bring the TTK with components to the level what we want to see. Don't get me wrong, armor will affect this once it makes its way in, but we prepared it in a way that it should work without it, but clearly it does not yet. So a little patience here. We are doing our best to get everything in the remaining time. Also, to answer your concern, yes, time to kill will change. The idea is engineering will increase the lifetime of ships. He's going to say this and it's not going to make a difference. The people who still panic will still panic. They've been saying it's supposed to increase the time of ships for a long time. That's going to be a huge change for newbies. The best will be for newbies who get in before, like when these systems are actually complete. It wouldn't be near as bad if the game actually worked, right? When you run into a system in a finished video game that's frustrating to you, you don't really go, oh, this is terrible development. It's not going to work. I quit. Most people, if they're interested in the game, will try and figure out why it's in the game and work with it. I've never played a JRPG very thoroughly, but I definitely stuck with Expedition 33, partially because Mrs. Tomato was really busting her way through that game, but because like a good game makes you want to learn. It makes you want to learn to avoid the things that suck and do the things you like and work your way through it that way. So this is good. And I think most people are kind of like in that mindset. I don't think he answered any more here. So a decent look into some engineering, basically just confirming that like engineering is adding life to ships. Engineering is supposed to be a positive. All positives come with negatives. Misfires, not great. Maintenance probably can get annoying. The possibility of losing power for some reason, yeah, kind of sucks. But you don't get to benefit from being able to use weaponry in this game or in the world or in any situation without other people also having that benefit and you having to deal with the possible consequences of other people having guns. We don't get to have nice, cool, responsive, dynamic ship systems that make them feel like homes without them also having some trade-offs and risks. And like, if you don't want that, I'm sure there are some great spaceship games out there, but like we kind of want our ships to be homes in this game. Want them to last and live as long as we do and see them do cool things. So you might have to deal with that one. Or just ignore engineering. That's always a possibility. Either way, little update on it.